Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Harebrained Games. Today we're going to take a look at Raiders of the North Sea. This game from Renegade Studios is for 2 to 4 players, and you play a Viking in the Viking Age, trying to impress your chieftain by collecting much victory, fame, victory, etc. It is a subtle take on worker placement, and it involves raiding across the sea, obviously a northern one. So let's take a look and see what I think.
Okay, let's take a quick look at the components in the game. You have this beautiful map. You have the Viking area that is rife with Viking-like vibe. Hi-yah! And then you have the pillage points, the areas across the sea that are there for you to ravage and pillage as you see fit. They have people in them, and then they have resources. They've got stone, they've got gold, you've got cattle, and you've got Valkyries, which bring honor. Honor! Let's move them down here. Alright, you've got some scoring tracks, etc., etc. I won't bore you with the details. You have some nice coins, because it takes coins. Vikings like coins. You've got provisions, which are necessary in order to be able to make journeys across the sea. And then you have a couple other things. You've got these tiles that you will purchase. They'll give you victory points. You're making an offering. That's the story behind that. Everybody gets a ship. You get a ship, and you get a ship, and you get a ship. And those ships come complete with one black meeple, black Viking meeple. There are 3 colors: black, gray, and white. In that order, they become more and more powerful. And then everybody gets cards. There's a deck of cards, and these are the cards that you will use to either make a crew out of them, or you'll use their special ability one time when you choose that as one of your options, and then use it and lose it. So you can either spend it, or you can make it part of your crew of up to 5 people that you're going to need, because when you're going to take on mighty villages filled with people who probably don't even know what's coming, you're going to need the greatest of weaponry and warriors. Alright, let's get into play. Okay, turns are quite simple. You just have to understand one basic concept. This is something I saw, for example, in Coldwater Crown, was another game that did this. You have a meeple. On your turn, you place a meeple anywhere you're allowed to, and then you do that action. Then you take a meeple back and put it back where it belongs, and you take that action. So, place an action, pull an action. Place an action, pull an action. It's sort of like fishing. You cast your line, you reel it back. You cast your line, you reel it back. That is when you're going to use those workers for village actions. If you're going to attack any of these places, then you have to find an appropriate unfilled attack point with the color that corresponds, place it there, and then do battle, which we'll go over in a second. First off, we're going to start off with this, and we're going to decide. So first off, we're going to take our unit and we're going to decide what we're going to do. We have the gatehouse, which lets us draw cards. We can always have up to 8 cards in our hand, and then we have to discard if we're more than that. But if you're in the mood for cards, you can do that, although I can't do that now. These are blocked from the start. The town hall says, if you place it, you take a card, and you do whatever that action says. In this case, take anyone plunder from an opponent. Well, that's not very nice, but it is very Viking. Here lets you trade in cards for coins. This one's interesting. You have to use a gray meeple, which you only get by actually pillaging and returning that gray meeple back to you. But if you use that, you can then turn in some stone to build up some attack value. This is permanent attack value, where anytime you go out on the attack, this is always added to the amount of attack that you're going to be able to accrue and accumulate in order to decide how much victory you gain over what you've attacked. The mill is basically the single place where you boringly get provisions, and you are going to need provisions, and so each of these meeples, depending on the color, will give you provisions, which you will then spend every time you go out and fight. Finally, this, you use your black silversmith, you get 3 coins. Coins are used to buy heroes, and they're used to fulfill these here. That's about what they're useful for. Beyond that, coins aren't nearly as exciting as one would think if one were driven by financial acuity. And finally, you have the longhouse, which can't be used except by gray or white tokens. That one lets you turn in cattle for provisions, which is nice, because you can definitely need more provisions, and hey, what are you going to use the cattle for anyway? Where's the glory in that? Or this is where you can actually pay these goods and take these coins and get these victory points for end game. The game ends when you've basically taken out all but one space of the fortresses above You can even leapfrog over. You don't have to do anything in sequential order. You just have to be able to pay for whatever it is you're going to do for whichever of these attack points. For example, here you need 3 provisions and a gold, and you need a crew of at least 3 to be able to attack here. Whereas here, it's very simple. You just need to have 1 provision and three crewmen, and you'll always win this one anyway. You'll get a point. But these ones on the seashore are pretty easy. They get progressively more difficult as you go in, but the rewards in victory point payoff is greater. Alright, so we've got that, we've covered that, let's move on. So I'm going to decide to use the silversmith here. That's going to give me 3 coins. Yay, 3 coins in the fountain. Okay, now I get to decide which of these suckers I'm going to pull back and get its benefit from. Do I want to be rich in coinage? No. Do I want to use one of my special abilities on my cards? Yes, I do. I'm going to take this town hall back over to the ship. I'm always going to have, at the end of my turn, a meeple on my ship. Always. You're always going to pull one out or pull one back, or go raiding and pull one back. Either way, you always got 1 meeple to work with. And so then I'm going to use this special ability, because that's where I landed on, that says draw 3 new cards to your hand. So 3 new cards. Look at that. Now I have 7 cards, and which I can use and eventually build. Now it's blue guy's turn. Blue man group. Alright. He's going to go here. He's going to get a provision. I'm not saying I'm making smart choices. I'm just saying I'm making choices. And then he's going to get rid of one of his cards. Pull that back. He's not going to care which, because he's just playing around. And he's going to get 2 coins. That's going to help him be able to purchase crew members to be able to go on the attack. Alright, that's it. That's all you do on your turn. Alright, now we're back to red. Red is itching for a fight, but he's not going to be able to do anything until he gets himself some provisions, but that part is blocked. So what is he going to do? He's going to go to the barracks, and then he can now purchase, for whatever the costs are on the left, one of his units. He's going to look for one that's got a high attack value. 0 is not a high attack value. This is not golf. Ooh, 3. Look at that. We're going to go with this. So we place him down here. We now have a crew member of 1. We pay our 3 coins, and we're done. Now we're going to go to the mill, pull that back, and we get a provision. Yay, look at that. We're getting closer to raiding all the time. Now we're back over to blue. What can blue do for you? Well, blue is also going to need to step up in the crew member, but that's already taken, so he'll take that as his second action. So he's going to, you know what, he's going to follow suit, do the same thing. He's going to go to the mill, get a provision. He's going to pull this back from the barracks, and he's going to go ahead and buy a crew member himself. Now he has 4 coins, so look at that, 4 coins. He's going to spend the whole wad on this special guy. You know why? Gain 3 points at the game end, so he's worth a lot as long as you can keep him alive. Now, there's ways for these to get killed off. Not cool. Now, he's done his work, so now we're over here. Do we have enough to do a raid yet? No, we do not. We're going to need to get some more crew members, and so we're going to go ahead and put him right here. We're going to ditch a card and get 2 more coins. And we're not going to be able to buy a crew member here, but we can still pull this back and get a provision. See, it's almost a Zen-like experience. Who knew the Vikings were so into meditation? Alright, here, we're going to go, you know what, we're going to go, we need coinage. We need coinage really bad, but we don't have a lot of options, so we're going to use the town hall, and we too are going to draw 3 new cards by using that special ability. Discard the card, grab 3 cards, you know. Assuming you want to play this right, you're going to want to look at those cards anyway, but right now, I'm just aiming to take the silversmith off. I get 3 coins. Look at that. Look at that. We're golden. We're close. We are close to Viking raiding territory. Now we're back over here. What is red going to do? Red is going to... You got it. He's going to barracks up. He's going to basically buy himself this guy. He's angry. He's an angry scout. Alright, I can pay 1 less provision when raiding a monastery. So if I go up and try and raid a monastery, I can pay 1 less provision. That's already sweetness. Sweetness. Alright. And that costs 2. And now we got to decide what we're going to do. We don't have provision opportunity. And we can't take the same meeple back that we had. We got to do some stuff. So we're going to pull this back, take that action. Look what we have here. We have forager, gain 2 provisions. Look at that. We are ready. It is going to be an awesome time soon. All right. First off, we're going to use him. Go back to the goldsmith. We're going to grab 3 more coins. And then we are going to pull him back on the barracks, and we're going to buy him for 4. 4 is a good number. 4 is awesome. Okay. So we're getting ourselves ready for our first little foray into fighting here. All right, now it's time. We are going to raid. What are we going to raid? Well, we're going to have to raid something that allows us to attack without card. Now, you know, this is probably the only one. It's not the optimal one, but we're going to do it anyway. We're going to attack. We have to place it here permanently. This black guy's gone. There's Black Meeple is gone. He's placed there, and we choose one of these 3 that we're going to have for spoils. But first, normally we would fight by comparing the strength values of our crew, the strength values of what we have, some victory point cards here. Sometimes there are dice that you roll that also add a bonus. So there's a lot of ways to accrue strength, and you're going to need it when you've got things like 26, 34 points of strength needed. So, all right, we've done it. We automatically win. We get 1 victory point for red, and we get one of these. We get the meeple, and we get the resources. And obviously, I'm going to take this. Sorry. And then we put it back, and look, that's what we've got. Now we have a gray meeple, and we have resources, and we're happy. A happy Viking is a good Viking. Okay, now we have a choice to make. We can also attack the harbor, but we're going to try for something a little bit better. So let's try for something, because I don't want to spend too long. Yeah. What can we do? We need more crew members. You know what? I'm going to pause this, and I'm going to give you an example of a later idea. So let's say, for example, let's just throw the game to the wind. We have a crew of 4. We have 17 provisions. We've got, say we turned in one of these, and we got strength of 4 or whatever. And I decided that I want to attack this monastery, or a monastery up here. Now, I have a crew that says that I get extra points for doing so, blah, blah, blah. It costs a gold. It costs 3 provisions. And now I can attack it. So what do? I add up the first thing I do is I add up all. I don't have to get rid of the cards. I add up all of that, and I go, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. What a wimpy crew. 7. But I have 4 strength power. Or no, I have, yeah. And so 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Alright, so I have 17. Is that enough? It's enough to meet this threshold, but not that one. So I don't get a ton of glory, but I do at least get 4 glory. Then I get to take whichever one of these I want. Now Valkyries are interesting. For each one you take, you have to ditch one of your crew. Now that sounds sad, but if I was to do that, I would go up on the track here too, and that gives me a victory point at the end of the game. So, you know, there is glory in death in most any Viking game, and this is no exception. Then I get this white thing, this white meeple. The white meeple, notice, will actually, using the mill, give you 2 provisions or a gold, or it can be used for other things. So that's the flow of the game. I hope I have explained at least enough of it that you get an idea. It goes back and forth quickly. You're doing resources, you're building up, you're going on quests in the form, you know, that has happened to be disguised as ravaging the countryside of things non-Viking. Once again, the end of the game is if you exhaust the offering bank here, and then of course if you get down to one, whatever you call it, only one fortress is left unravaged, and then there is another victory point, which is basically, yeah, 1 set of plunder tiles left in the fortresses, offering tiles. Oh, the Valkyries. When the Valkyries are gone, that also triggers the end game. So there's a lot of Valkyries. It would probably take a while. My guess is someone would probably go through this pile during this game first. Although it's not guaranteed. If someone really wants to go attack the fortresses and gets down to just 1 plunder left in the fortress, that could do it. So, alright, I think that's enough. And let's get to my final thoughts on Raiders of the North Sea.
Okay, Raiders of the North Sea. What are my thoughts on it? What are my deep, dark ponderings? Let's talk about them. As always, I like to go through the cons first and then feed into the pros. The cons are, and well, we'll go over the sort of the expectation level con. If you are looking for these standard, like the more common Viking anger rage. This is not the place for it. This is the kindly, gentler Vikings. Probably the nicest Vikings you're ever going to meet come in this box. It's not edgy. It's not gritty. There's no berserkitude per se. There are pictures on the cards that sort of try to give the impression of anger, bless their hearts, but it's more sort of a middle school pageant. Oh, look, Buffy's in his armor wear kind of thing. It won't stop the general vibe that this is pleasant. This is the Clark Kent of Vikings games. If you're looking for bloodthirsty attacks and lamentations of women, this is not the sufficient Viking game for you. The other thing is thematic coupling, and by that I mean how, does it really, does the Viking theme shine through in this? And I think sometimes I wonder how often the game is fitted to the theme versus the theme fitted to the game. And in this case, I could see this being themed in another story. It's loosely coupled, but it works. It's not terrible. It works. The only thing that I would say is something that I thought was a little quirky was that the raids that you make, these raids that you're going on, are kind of foregone conclusions, except for what level of victory. There's no chance of non-success if you meet the initial criteria. There's no long odds. It's sort of like trying out for a soccer team, and if you bring enough orange slices and granola bars, you're going to make the cut with the understanding that all your games are going to be wins. It's just by how much you win by, which is a little weird. Even the risk of crew death is calculated. Some of you may die, and it's a price I've already included in my fiscal Q3 rating budget. Those are the three things I think, one of which was one thing I thought was quirky. None of it was like terrible or, man, that really ruins it for me. Mostly just things I thought, could be better. On the pros front, there's a lot to like. This is a jovial romp through the countryside. It really is. I mean, you're gleefully chomping down on victuals with your party of 5 to the hottest monastery in town and cutting a rug with your priestly homies. You get some points, you come back home, you feel good about your loot, so you roll up and do it all over again. The map itself is very visually appealing. It's a delightful, colorful bouquet of different regions. You've got your fortresses, far inland that are, dark and cost a lot. And then you've got your shoreline attacks for those of you on light pillaging duty. The personality of the crew shines through. While the cards themselves, the crew cards, are not incredibly ambitious or sly with what abilities they do, they're varied enough to not feel too awfully redundant. The yin-yang worker placement so I've seen that in Cold Water Crown, which is another game that did it. It's literally singular worker placement. You pull it out, you put one down, you pull one out. And while it seems a bit goofy at first, it's very easy to get rhythmic into a flow and realize it does actually open up more opportunities. You're limited, the limits on what you can do are always like cut in half. It's like I can put it in any vacant spot, but then I can pull it from any non-vacant spot to do my second action. I like that. I think it worked well. I think it's good for this game. The smooth escalation of capability really, really interests me. As you raid, you begin with these pitiful raids, but then you beef up your ability to raid more, and you continue to beef up the ability to quickly get together bigger and bigger raids. I like that. It's a tight loop of stocking up on goods, grabbing a few buddies, going wreaking havoc, and then doing it again, but with feeling, or at least more potency. The other thing is there are no bad expansions for this game. Now, while I didn't touch on the expansions, I can say that there are no bad ones, and none of them add too much drudgery. They all fit in nicely. So if you get Raiders of the North Sea, do not be afraid at all to add expansions to it, and they'll feel right at home. Final thoughts. What do I think of Raiders of the North Sea? It is a charming little bookstore of a game. There's nothing new on its shores that we haven't seen before. But it does a nice job of being a pleasant affair, which is what you usually ask a game to be. What I find about Viking games, and I realized this as I discovered how many Viking games I actually own, which is much more than I thought I did, is that the Viking games I have generally fall split into two categories. You've got your light-hearted pleasant, personable, quickly flowing fare like your Vikings Gone Wild, your Vikings on Board, your Bottle Cap Vikings, Trollhalla, which is a classic whimsical Viking game. And then on the other side, you've got these more gritty, edgy, like you might have a little bit of humor, but it's dark and it's all about, victory and sacrifice and your blood rage, your champions of Midgard, your 878 Vikings, the original Vikings from way in the past, the Vikings board game based on the Vikings series. This game is not a game you're going to want to play or dive into right after you finish Vikings Season 6, whenever it's done. It is definitely on the whimsical side, where the Vikings are cute and cuddly. And that's okay. It fits in that regard. I think as far as a whimsical, lighthearted game, this does a good job. I'd probably rank it up there close to Trollhalla in the entertainment department. So one of the better ones on the whimsical side. It won't pillage your world with a foamy sensation of bearded huzzahs, but at the same time, it's not going to ferment like bad horse meat on a makeshift roasting spit either. So cut in the middle, I approve it for fun and entertainment, even if it isn't the gritty, dark, bearded Viking game you all seek. For those, I would look for Vikings, the board game from the series, which is actually very, very deep and or Blood Rage, Blood Rage, man. Anyway, that's what we got. Raiders of the North Sea, now facing upward like it should. Take care, and we'll see you next time on Harebrained Games.